up, guys? Welcome to another POV test drive. So as some of you may remember from last week's video, I drove a modified 2006 Acura RSX Type-S, and since I felt that one, while it still was a really fun car to drive, it was definitely more modified for form over function, so it wasn't the most performance-oriented car, and you know, there were a few places where I thought it was lacking. So I wanted to give the car as a whole another chance. So I found this one, and this one is an 03, also a Type S, but as you'll see in a bit, it's a lot more performance oriented in all of its modifications. So this is its owner, Seigo. So what all have you done to this car?
Well, I have Fortunato 500 coilovers, which I put on recently. Before that, I had the Acura A-Spec suspension. I put a lot of work into making the shifter feel better, as it was, in my opinion, sloppy. So I got the hybrid racing short shifter, replaced all the bushings, have the M-Tech shifter springs, so it gives it a stiffer side-to-side feel. I have bolt-ons, so I have a Club RSX header, PRC Type R intake manifold, engine cold air intake, and a Fujitsubo catback.
So how much power do you think you're making right now?
So I'm thinking, I'm hoping a little over 200 wheel horsepower.
So that's a pretty good bump up from the stock, which is 200 crank, which is probably like what,
so
180,
170 to the wheels
so,
stock.
Yep. So the main thing with this car is it still doesn't have an LSD. So I am expecting still there to be some torque steer, if not more than before, since this car does have quite a bit more power than stock. But overall, you know, this car is built for the track.
Yeah.
And it's also your daily driver.
Yeah.
And you said you've taken it to Laguna Seca on your first time. You ran a 150, right?
I ran a 150. I've been taking it to Thunderhill more, so it was my first time at Laguna back in November, but I've been to Thunderhill maybe 7 times, and I ran a best of 211 there.
Okay, so I don't know what's considered good for Thunderhill, but at least for Laguna Seca, 150 your first time out, you know, in a relatively low powered front wheel drive car, that's a really great time. So let's take this one for a spin and see just how different it feels than the previous one I drove. Alright, so the very first thing you notice when you sit in this car is how incredibly low the seating position is relative to the interior design of the car. So since I'm in a fixed bucket seat, I literally cannot see any part of the hood when I'm just sitting normally. I have to actually crane my neck up here to see any of the front of the hood. And it's weird because the seating position's not really that close to the ground. It's just relative to the car, it's really low. So it does take some getting used to. But other than that, everything falls to hand really well, just like the other RSX I drove. This steering wheel is awesome. So this is, you know what model this is by chance?
Yeah, Momo Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo? Okay. It just has like the perfect grip. And is this like real leather, or is it like a kind of a pleather material?
I'm not sure, but I know the spoon wheel is identical to that.
Oh, is it?
Just the buttons and spoon.
Oh, okay, this is this Momo.
Yeah, I mean that's a button too, so it works as a fork.
But this is definitely one of the best steering wheels I've ever used, and I would consider getting one of these for my NSX once I finally mod it. Yeah. Having to crane my neck super high just to see over this part because it's a 1-lane road. So right now, you have your street set of wheels and tires on here, right?
Yeah.
And so they're what, 17 by 8s all around?
17 by 7.5.
Okay, with a 225.
225.
And what tires are these?
These are Hankook Ventus Speed 12 Evo 2s.
Oh, okay, so they're like a pretty mid-tier, like summer tire.
Summer tire, max performance or something.
Yeah. What do you run at the track?
I run Bridgestone RE11s.
Okay, and same size?
Same size.
So, in terms of suspension, you mentioned you have the Fortunato 500s on this, right?
Yeah, so the good thing about Fortunato is they let you choose your own spring rates and even help you pick if you need help.
Okay.
So I opted for a 10K front spring rate, the 14K rear spring rate, because If it was really a track-only car, ideally you would want something like even stiffer than that.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 18K rears, 12K fronts.
Oh, that's really stiff.
That would be like, I don't think that would make sense for a street daily driven car.
Right.
So I went with 10K, 14K as a compromise, and so far I don't have many complaints. It's pretty comfortable.
So did you go stiffer in the rear because you wanted kind of a soft, like a more tail happy?
Yeah. So for this chassis, you pretty much, due to like the motion ratio of the suspension, you need to have a really stiff rear spring to get it to rotate at all.
Got it. Yeah. In terms of the ride quality, though, I mean, definitely I can tell it's coilovers with relatively high spring rates. You do feel literally every single bump in the road, but it's a lot better than I expected. It's definitely a lot more compliant than the Megan coilovers that I tested in the other RSX. And what I mean by that is, even though you still feel everything, the body motions are still controlled, and the car doesn't bounce over bumps the way that one did. You said you're running stock headers on here, or did you upgrade the headers?
No, I have a race header with a high flow cap.
Okay, so even though it's you know, every single part of the exhaust system has pretty much been upgraded, it's still really quiet. Even at full throttle, it wasn't as loud as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, that's mainly due to the Fujitsu exhaust, because I had a T1R exhaust before, and that thing drone pretty badly.
This one has no drone.
Yeah, it's much more expensive exhaust, but I got it. I found it used, so I got it.
Nice. So, since this is a 03 Type-S, this actually has the K20, is it A2?
Yeah, A2.
Engine? Okay, so I made a mistake in my previous video, apologies for that. Since that car was an 06, that actually had the Z, I think it's the Z1 or the Z3 or something. Regardless, that one made like 10 more horsepower. It's, you know, this one's still a 2-liter naturally aspirated IV Tech, 200 horsepower, around 142 foot-pounds of torque. So very similar in spec. I'm surprised you were able to get a good amount of power from it just from, you know, doing some bolt-ons in the tune, though.
The tune makes a really big difference, as like sticking just bolt-on parts, you don't really gain much because the engine or the ECU doesn't know that you put those parts on, so it's still spitting out the same.
So the tune is really what did it for you.
Yeah, so the tune is important.
Alright. So now that we're here, let's take it for a run, see how it does. Oh, there's definitely some people down there.
The motorcycle? I don't know.
Well, let's just take it easy on this straight, and then we'll go harder after that. We picked the wrong day to come up here.
Yeah, it's
the wrong time, rather. Alright, let's kick it up a notch. Not easy for me to drive quickly, actually.
Too much torque steer?
Oh, yeah, so the main thing is the torque steer is definitely still there, which is expected since it doesn't have an LSD. If anything, it's even more prominent than the other car. But besides that, The brake pedal actually to me feels rather sensitive, and so does the throttle. Even when I give it just a slight increase in pressure on the throttle pedal, it kind of revs up a little more than I expect. And that could be due to, you know, all the bolt-ons in the tune that you did, maybe change the throttle mapping a little bit.
Yeah, I like it sensitive.
Yeah, it feels quite sensitive to me, where, you know, the car I drive in the canyons nowadays is the NSX, and, you know, on the track, and that has a super long throttle pedal throw. So you can dial in like very fine inputs, but it's very insensitive if you just blip it a little bit. So this is the total opposite of that. And you said for brakes you have the Type-R Brembos, right?
Yeah, so Brembos with the Project Mu HC Plus 800 brake pads.
Okay, so pretty aggressive, you know, brake setup.
Yeah, I use these at the track as well. So
I can see these doing really well at the track, but in the canyons I feel like it is a little bit more grabby than I'm used to. But then again, I'm used to driving like totally street tuned cars, so it's not a knock on these brakes. It's just that for the canyons they require a little bit of adjustment in terms of driving style. I found myself braking too early in some of those corners because I was anticipating it, and then I ended up having to let off the brakes like well before I even, you know, reached the apex. I will say though, this shifter is awesome. Like one of the best shifters I've ever used, hands down. And for a front-wheel drive car, that's definitely saying something, because I think it's right up there with the S2000 in terms of shift feel. The throws are insanely short. If anything, they're like a little bit shorter than the S2000's throws. And the side-to-side action is like, you actually have to really manhandle it to get it in like first from neutral. Let's take it for another little run. Yeah, so in sweepers, this car is a lot easier to drive versus in the hairpins that I was in earlier. I don't know, it definitely just takes some getting used to, but I do really like the steering feel of this car. Is this hydraulic steering? It is, right?
yeah, same as the other one.
Okay, same as the other one. I don't know, I think just having this different steering wheel actually makes it feel a little bit better to me, which is probably all in my head, but
That's what I thought too, so
yeah,
it does make a difference.
maybe it could be the weight of the wheel, I'm not sure.
It's less bulky.
Yeah, this engine is a little monster. With the tune, it now redlines at 8600, same as the 8th gen Civic Si with the E-tune that I reviewed a while back. I think you said it's probably the same tuner who does the mapping for those.
Mid-tuned.
So 8600 RPMs is just, I always, in terms of sound, if I'm not looking at the revs, I feel like I need to be shifting up. But then when I look down, it's like, oh, I'm still at like 7500. I still have like 1000 revs to go. I think in terms of power to weight ratio, this car's at the perfect level now, at least until you put an LSD on it.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want even one more foot-pound of torque. It's like, it's already quite a handful.
Yeah.
With the torque steer. It's a shame they never sold the actual Type-R here.
Yeah.
Because they sold the DC2 Type-R, which is, you know, one of the most legendary front-wheel drive cars ever.
Yeah. But I think they sell that many of them here. I don't think
There were a few of them. I've seen a couple at Laguna Seca. But, you know, by far, this is the most aggressive front-wheel drive car I've driven ever. Not just, you know, for YouTube, but everything about it just screams like full throttle everywhere. Yeah, I mean, compared to the RSX I drove last time, it's clear that this one has a lot more thought put into like choosing the right modifications that you know, help it perform better at the track. But to be honest, at the end of the day, I can still tell it's an RSX. If I drove these cars back to back, blindfolded, they would still, you know, feel very similar.
similar. It's just that little details.
The little details that make the difference, yeah. But I still like the overall thing that I still think when I think about this car is that it needs an LSD.
Yep, definitely. Just it's expensive and very labor-intensive to install.
Are you thinking about getting one at some point if you keep this car?
Yeah, if I keep it. But another option I might do is just buy the Type-R transmission, which has LSD in it and shorter gears, and just bolt that on.
Would that be more expensive then?
Actually, I seen them for maybe $1,500 for the transmission. Okay. So if I could somehow do that myself, then that's not that bad versus buying an LSD for $800 and then paying another $800 for it installed or something like that.
So why did you originally pick this car? Was it like your first fun car or track car?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty sure most people. So I wanted an S2000 like most people.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a first college car kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So this was the most
a lot more practical
option, and it wasn't a convertible, and it could hold a lot of stuff too. So it's pretty practical and it's pretty fun, and it was within the price range. So that's pretty much it.
Why did you, or like, when and why did you decide to turn it into more of a track car?
Since I went to the track, the more I wanted to make it better.
So you drove this at the track before you put some of the mods on there?
Yeah, so the first time I went, I had like maybe a stock header, pretty much A-spec suspension and tires and brake pads were all I had.
Okay.
But when I bought the car, it came with like Brembos and a lot of...
So it's already had a lot of stuff on there.
Some stuff on there. I bought this with 60,000 miles on it for around 12 grand back in like 5 years ago. So, but it came with like full authentic Type-R lip kit, front Brembos, front Type-R control arms and all that.
Yeah.
So to me it was worth it. And it was in a really clean condition.
Yeah.
How does the engine feel in this versus like the one you reviewed?
Versus the Civic Si?
No, the other RSX.
Oh, the engine? This one feels torquier. That's the main thing.
Okay.
And you know, this one revs a little higher, but that's not the real difference. It's the mid-range torque that's really the difference.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I got the Type-R manifold.
Yeah, in terms of daily drivability, I think the torque of this car is fine. Like, it doesn't feel like totally gutless. Alright, so thanks again, Seigo, for letting me drive your car. It's given me a really good idea of what an RSX can do once it's, you know, properly modified for handling and performance. It's definitely a function over form type of thing, but at the same time, when you look at it on the outside, I still think it looks pretty badass because it's everything. You can tell everything's functional, and you can tell it has downforce.
Yeah, I mean, many people think you don't need a wing on a front-wheel drive.
Oh, you absolutely still need. Yeah, for the track, you still definitely want a wing.
Yeah, because I'm trying to set it up so at lower speeds it's more oversteer.
Oh, you want more oversteer at low speeds?
I mean, I want it to rotate, but at the same time, if you're going at a high-speed corner, you don't want it to swing out. So that's where the wing helps.
Yeah. So, yeah, in terms of what else is next to drive, you know, I'm still looking for a DC2, GSR, or obviously Type-R would be amazing. That's probably like the #1 car on my list right now of want to drive. So if any of you guys have one, let me know. But otherwise, if you like my video, please comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.